January 21st, 4 a.m. My wife says to me, "Troy, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. Wake up, he's doing it again." And I wake up to the sound of my son having a seizure. A sound that I had only heard some 30 days earlier. She turned on the light, and I quickly saw him actually having the seizure before my eyes. My hands gravitated, as chiropractic hands do, right to his atlas, as I just held his head. My wife, also being a chiropractor, did the same thing, both of us cradling his head. As his eyes are rolling up to the left side of his head, he's seizing, making that noise, and his body completely stiff. This is an image that will never leave my mind. It is something that I would never wish upon any parent to have to experience. And I know there are much worse things that people could experience, but in my life, and my son, my 6-year-old, doing that at 4 a.m. was one of the worst things I could have seen. We're chiropractors. He's been getting adjusted since birth. This can't be happening in our family. He's never been vaccinated. He doesn't have any drugs in his body, and yet this is our known experience. This would set us off on a 6-week journey, a journey to find out what is going on with our son. We had been suspecting some things for a while. We couldn't put the pieces together, but we knew something was going on, and it was culminated by 30 days, 2 seizures. And if you understand seizures, you know that if you have 2 in that time period, that you're 80% more likely to have more seizures. So, we go to the ER, we get a workup because we wanted to go down this path of finding out diagnostically what is going on with our child so we can put together the appropriate plans to move forward. The picture of him holding his hand on his head, my little hero, is him getting an EEG 10 days later. Not having a clue what's going on, just doing what kids do, which is trust their parents. Because how many parents in here? Show of hands. Will we do anything for our kids? Yes or yes? Yes. Absolutely. Anything for our children. And we want to make them feel safe. So we go and have this EEG, and a little bit later, we're going to meet with the neurology. We go to Barnes Jewish in St. Louis, the children's hospital, one of the tops in the nation. And we go in for our neurology appointment. They actually have a seizure wing on the hospital now for children. And as we sit there waiting for the doctor to come in, the door opens, and a woman, some 6'3", 6'4", walks in with 4-inch heels on, a skirt that is mid-thigh, with a top that I don't know. My wife called it like an A thing. I don't know women. You know what these things are. But all I know is that she was inappropriately dressed, walked in with her MacBook, sat down and said, "Oh, I'm sorry," introduced herself to me, introduced herself to my wife, and then looked, and we said, "That's Wyatt." And she said, "Hi, Wyatt, how are you?" And that was it. She proceeded to go through and do a consultation, much like anything any person in this room might do. She then proceeded to go ahead and do an exam. Had him sit on the table, starts to fumble around with her equipment. Pulls out the ophthalmoscope, and my wife says, "Maybe if you plug it in, it will work. You can't make this stuff up." She proceeds to do the exam and get frustrated with my child, not trying to connect with him, getting frustrated with him because he's not sitting still. She asked him to hop off the table and walk heel to toe. He doesn't know what heel to toe means in a straight line. He's 6 years old. Nobody's asked him to do that before. She then walks over to her desk, and I'm watching her the whole way. She starts to break out in hives. Her lower lip starts to tremble. And it was at that moment that I knew she had no clue what was going on. And she sat down and said, "I can tell you with about 95% certainty that lower lip quivering, that what your son had was a seizure. And I believe that we should put him on medication so we can control those seizures." What do they say? Body language and tone make up 93% of communication. Do you think we bought into what she was saying? No. She then said that what we know is that there's about a 50-50 chance that it will actually work. Flip the coin on if you're going to do this to your child. She then leaves the room because she's the fellow, and she goes to get the attending, because I myself I can get kind of aggressive sometimes. So I decided to take the passive move here and let my wife control the conversation as I just sat with my arms crossed, staring at her, watching her god-awful body language. And my wife continued to ask her question after question after question, not trying to confront her, but asking questions that any good parent would do. And she's feeling like she's being put on the defense. So she leaves the room to get the attending, and they come back and we hear the same story. We believe that your son had a seizure, and we also believe that he should be put on medication. And my wife says, what if we do nothing? Now, mind you, we are not putting my kid on medication. What if we don't do anything? And the fellow says, well, if it continues to happen, not only is this going to cause neurological decline and deficits, it could also lead to death, with my son sitting 1 foot away from her in a chair. He slithered down that chair, crawled on the floor underneath where his mother was sitting, grabbed me by the leg and said, Daddy, will you sit next to me? Why do I share that with you here today? I share it with you here today because one of the things that we forget about is we come in and we're talking about neovitalism, and we come in here and we're talking about philosophy, and we're talking about the importance of us staying true to our principles. There's another principle that we can't lose sight of, and that's a principle of how to treat other human beings. That is the principle of communication with people so that we can translate the message of chiropractic so people will actually get it. Because when my wife and I left that meeting, we looked at each other and said, what a waste of time. And we've had to have 3 emergency room visits, 3 boys, but one of them who's had all 3 of them. And every time we leave, we say we have to remember this so we can share it with other people, because this is what our parents go through. All those parents who come into our offices, who sit in those situations, they go through the bullying. They go through the scare care. They go through the your kid will die if you don't take this medication. And they go through it because you and I are not translating the message of chiropractic. We're not sharing with them this principle that we know and love. Around these 4 walls, it sounds great. And we will high-five each other. And we will love on chiropractic. And we will save the world. But guess what, folks? Guess what happens? We go out there, and those are real people. Those are real people who don't know what it means when we say above, down, inside, out. They have no clue, but we think they do. Why? Because it sounds good from right there. That's the point that it sounds the best, is if I say it up here and you cheer for me, then that's how I have to go teach people. That's not going to change humanity. It's just not, I'm sorry. I wish it would, but we sit here and we have to take all the studies. We have to take all the information. I'm getting a little worked up here. We have to take all the studies. We have to take all that information. And we have to speak to them in their language. That's why, I don't know if I can go backwards on this thing. I say we have to communicate the neovitalism message to people who only speak English. I say that because what we do is we come in here and we get all fired up. We get all passionate about chiropractic, and my God, we should. It's the most amazing thing on this planet. But then we go out there with that passion, and people love the passion, but we go out there trying to spill a study on them. If studies worked for the human race, people wouldn't get surgeries, folks. Think of everything Dr. Pompa just shared. If human beings outside of where we are today in this room read those studies, do you think they would change? If they understood it, do you think they might change their health habits? But they don't get it. So who's in charge of translating the message? So we go out there, and I go out there and I say something as simple as above, down, inside, out. And people go, oh, that sounds great, huh? What are you talking about? But I've had patients say this to me like, Doc, I don't know what the hell you're saying, but you're so passionate about it, I just don't want to stop you. And I'm like, well, thank you, but stop me, man. ask me, let me know if I'm running rampant. Now, I like to think that as I've gotten older, I've matured a little bit, and I can catch those moments. And I stop and I do one simple thing to the patient. I look at them and I say, tell me what you've heard here today. Just tell me what you've heard here today. Because if I continue on this conversation, I might lose you. But if you can repeat back what I just shared with you, then I know that you know. And I can build from that place. I can build a relationship from that place. I can build trust from that place. I can build and improve patient certainty in chiropractic. And that's where I believe we're missing the boat, folks. Does anybody in here need help with their certainty in chiropractic? Like, seriously? No, we all know it works. Who needs the help are the patients. We have to increase patient certainty, increase their understanding. And in order to do so, there's some very simple things that we can do. I want you to think of the journey of this horrendous experience that we had with this fellow. And it was not fun, it was not enjoyable, and I wanted to say some things to her that I didn't say, and I'm very glad I didn't. But she didn't connect at all. Where in your life, when you look at patients, or not even just patients, how about you look at people out in public that you go meet? How are you connecting with them? Because we get so passionate about chiropractic, we just want to throw it up all over them, right? Like, oh, chiropractic can help XYZ? Yes, let me tell you. Bleh. And we just puke it all over him. It's like, what if we stopped and said, why don't you tell me what you know about chiropractic first? What's your known experience? We have in my group called the Anderson Study. I have a client who his sole assignment for the last month has been to go out and ask people what they know about chiropractic. His first 5 people, how many people do you think knew about chiropractic? Knew what it was? Anyone? Am I speaking to myself? Hello? 0, good answer. Anyone else? 1. 1 person out of 5 knew what chiropractic was. 1. And the one worked in a chiropractic office, and she actually couldn't even give him a real description. And I can tell you, we're up at around 50 now. We have other people in my program that are doing this right now because we just want to find out. What do people really know? Your patients have an understanding of chiropractic, but what do they really know about chiropractic? And are you connecting with the ones that you're not connecting with? Meaning, you have right now, there are certain patients in your office, when I say connecting, you're like, oh yeah, I totally connect with Smith family. We're like, awesome. But what about Mary, who's very amiable? She comes into the office, keeps to herself. How are you connecting with her? Is her husband still at home? What are you doing to get him in the office? Are you translating the message enough to her that could help her to get her husband in the office? Might improve their relationship. Might actually help to improve his overall health and well-being. If you just had an opening up communication with her, how are you opening the door of that communication with her? So the people that you aren't connecting with, you have a husband who is in the office right now and his wife and kids are at home. You also have a wife that is in the office right now and the kids and the husband are at home because the husband doesn't want the kids under chiropractic because he thinks what you and I do, we are quacks. Now, am I on key here or am I the only one? Is Swansea, Illinois, Vitalized Family Chiropractic the only office that deals with this? Am I the only one? Am I alone? Am I standing up here naked like on the Brady Bunch when Marcia Brady looked at everybody wearing their underwear? Raise your hands, man. This is called being honest. Who here has had those situations that you know somebody who is in your office right now who their family is at home? And your first step is to connect with them, not go maul them when you get back to the office, not go spit out every study you've heard over the course of the last 2 days. Your first step is to go reconnect with people who are disconnected. That's the first step. And then look at the world through their glasses, their point of view. Which is why when we left these appointments, we leave them and we sit there and we go, we've got to remember this because this is what our parents go through. So we have to empower our parents to be able to sit in that conversation with the medical doctor and ask the right questions. Because if we don't help them to better understand what it is that we do, they're going to feel disempowered. And if they feel disempowered, they're going to sit in that office. And the minute I had a woman, it was 10 years ago, she comes into the office and I walk into the room and she goes, Dr. Troy, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. I said, Marla, what are you sorry about? And she lifts up their newborn baby and she said, please do something about this. And her baby had a rash all over her body. She said, we went to the doctor today and they talked us into getting vaccinated. Please take it away. Please take it away. I said, Marla, I can't do that. She said, we were so strong going in, but they just bullied us and kept pushing us. Until finally we said, well, just go ahead and do it. This is the real stuff that happens, folks. It's real life. If you've ever sat in on a doctor's appointment, and with Wyatt, the only real negative that we've had outside of that particular person is the fact that when they brought up, has your child been vaccinated? And we answer, no. What kind of looks do you think we get? They ain't exactly rolling a red carpet out for us, let me tell you. And we get the stories. And we get we've gotten it all. And we're like, hey, can we focus on why we're here instead of your agenda? So I'd like to challenge everybody here. And I should give you let me give you this part first. We found the right team. 4 days later, we sat down with a triple board certified neurologist in a holistic health center in St. Louis, a DO who's a pediatrician. My wife sat there in this consultation and literally was crying because she felt like we found the right team. We got the chiropractic part covered. We need somebody who understands our philosophy and will talk to us as people, as professionals, and as parents. And in doing so, we have a wonderful team now. We're 4 months later. My son has been seizure-free for 4 months. He's a fantastic big brother. I have to say, Walker, our third, is actually 5 weeks old as of this week. He's a fantastic big brother. He went through everything. As I show you this picture, the picture on the right is the day he was going into the MRI. One of the hardest walks I've ever had was walking him down to that room and knowing that they wouldn't let me go in because I said I'd always be there. See, every step of this situation is what fuels me up to make sure that we as chiropractors do two things. One, make sure that we learn how to better and more effectively communicate our message. And number two, make sure we take some frickin' action. Because I'm tired of going to seminars where we all feel good at the end, but we don't do anything afterwards. So I'm gonna ask you to pull out your cell phones. You gotta do it quick, I got 28 seconds. Pull out your cell phones. Right now, there are at least 3 people that you know you need to talk to. That you need to, whether it's a patient, whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, there are 3 people that you need to talk to either get their family under care, to better connect with the patient within your office, to get a husband under care, to get a family member of your own under care. There are 3 people that you need to commit to talking to come Monday. And if you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you set the tone for the upcoming week. And I promise I will go home and do the same thing come Monday. And together we can start to translate all this wonderful information that we get over the course of 2 days and help it to make sense to the patient so we can increase their certainty in chiropractic, which ultimately is going to increase their retention and your referrals. Thank you very much for letting me share. Have a great rest of the program. Thank you.